Hello, hello, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Christian Brown. I'm excited to be your moderator for today's panel on the future man, what the next generation of men must know. I'm excited to be joined by a couple of men from around the world today. Hello, Brian, Russell. I'm sure we'll have a couple more guys pop on. Chris, welcome. And I'm excited for this conversation. I really believe it's important that we vocalize what's needed for the next generation of men to enter into a role of leadership and of ultimately humanity from a place of confidence, from a place of empathy, and from a place of really designing a life that they can truly be proud of. And so we have a nice number of questions today that we'll go over. But first, let's go around the horn really quickly and can share a few words about yourself. And I also want to ask the question in one word. In one word, what must the future generation of men become? Let's get this thing started. Who would like to go first?
You're the
Sir
moderator.
Brian.
So...
Russell, yes.
No, I wasn't meant to speak first, so you could pick me. I was
Sir.
trying to you're the moderator.
Too late, Russell.
Sir Brian.
Go first. Go ahead, Brian.
Hi, not sure if you can hear me. Can you?
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, perfect. My name is Brian. Sir Brian is a nickname for growing up being small and wanting to prove the big guys better on basketball. They nicknamed me Sir Brian. But I just learned that Sir Brian is a title given to someone. Anyone given the title Sir has to have accomplished or made a difference in the world. So I'm all about making a difference, being a transformational speaker, youth pastor, and life coach. So the word that I have for men in our day and generation is men actually have to be self-aware and adaptable to the changes that are happening in the world.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Sir Brian. Russell.
Yeah, I'll go next. So hi everyone, my name is Russell. I am the Global Affairs Director at GatherVerse, also co-founder at Just Verify. And at Just Verify, we're focused on building the trust infrastructure for AI. And we're focused on verifying the model's performance and behavior and making sure it's aligned with human values, and also verifying the performance and behavior of the models as well. So happy to be here. Also love obviously GatherVerse as well. And yeah, that's basically me in a nutshell, really.
Nice.
Wait, Russell, did you do your one word?
You do this every time to me, Christopher. For the future of men, I would say confidence and aspiration.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you for sharing that, Russell. I'm sure we don't need a introduction from you, Christopher, but would love a few opening words for you from you on this panel.
Sure, I'm happy to be here, and thank you for allowing me to join your roundtable discussion, Christian, and to be here with these other men. It says a lot for us to be able to have the opportunity for us to sit here on stage together for this first of its kind men's summit. I'm the founder of GatherVerse, but I'm also a man. You know, we do all these events, and you know, we seriously advocate for women and women leadership, but we also do the same thing for men. So I think that's really important when it comes to men's health and women's health. It's just something I'm not going to shy away from, and so I'm really happy to be here with all of you. I would say the future word that I would use is protect. Right? I feel like as a man, you know, women protect, men protect, but I just feel as a man, you look after your own, you do right by people, and you help defend those that can't defend themselves, if you will. And so I think that's a really important thing, and do right by others and honor, and those are things that I think is also important in bravery. So thank you, Christian.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for sharing that. And the next question I want to dive into, I want to ask about the values that should define men in this next era. Before getting on the call today, I just went in and did some research with the help of our friendly large language models, and I noticed a few numbers that were a bit alarming when it comes to the health of our men. I think the first one that really stood out was that globally, men tend to die 5 to 6 5 to 6 years sooner than women, and globally over 70% of suicides in the world are men. The US Surgeon General said that loneliness is now considered more dangerous to men's long-term health than obesity or smoking, right? And so when I hear these things, for me it really intensifies the matter of men do need support, they need attention, and there needs to be a added value to their health. And so as you guys hear these numbers and think about this question of what values define the next generation of men, how can we turn these numbers around as men? What can we use from our lived experience to be able to speak into the next generation? And hello, Salvation, I see you just joined us. Welcome. Could you please just introduce yourself really briefly? And before you hopped on, we asked one question to the group, which was, what's one word that defines what the next generation of men should become?
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Good morning. It's evening here. So, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. My name is Salvation Chigeraka, and I'm a poet and a writer. I'm also a sister, so I'm really happy to be here to join you all. I would say one word would be care. I like to see more care in the male community. That's what I would say. One word: care.
Care. I love that. Awesome. Thank you. We're happy to have you on with us today. And so let's go around with this new question that we're going to lead with is what values should define the men in the next era. And we'd love to just hear from some lived experience in terms of what values have you implemented, maybe that have really set you on a different trajectory towards living a life as a healthy man. Let's go, Sir Brian. Let's start with you again.
Okay, thank you, Christian. Not sure why I get to always start, but I'm happy to start. One of the things growing up was an insecurity. We grew up in a poor family, and therefore we moved a lot, went to different schools. So there was always this feeling of not having enough, not being enough, and having to do things to impress, the crowds and the friends. And it led me to lose myself because I constantly had to do something to make someone happy, but it was not what I wanted. So one of the things that I later on learned as I grew up is to become aware of who I am and to be confident in myself as a person and to appreciate that I'm not going to make everyone love me, but I have to love myself first and be able to take care of myself. So I would say integrity, knowing what is right for you and standing by it, regardless of other people's opinions, because people always tell you. So integrity, having the responsibility for yourself, your choices, your decisions, and being responsible for also the influence of others on you and the influence that you give on others, and being aware that there's always things happening around you, but they don't necessarily have to affect you negatively. You can choose to empower yourself and to react, to plan to act than to react always. So emotional intelligence, that's some of the values that I would say: responsibility, integrity, self-awareness, and accountability, and just to love others as you love yourself. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. It sounds like all of those values that you named, they stem from first a place of loving yourself, and then once you love yourself, understand yourself and who you are, then go out and and show that same care for others. So thank you for sharing that, Brian. Russell, what about you? What values have you learned to implement into your life that have helped you become a more healthy man and individual?
Well, Brian said quite a few things there, but I will just add to it. I would say risk taken. I think people don't think about that, and you have to take risks in life in order to be able to get back up again and learn, so to speak. So I would say risk taken. Also remain curious as well. Always constantly be learning and adapting and changing. And also just make sure that you have full confidence in your abilities and trust your instincts as well. I think people forget about that too, in terms of trusting. If something's wrong, then there's something wrong, basically. So yeah, I think those are just a few things I would add. Again, as Brian was saying, accountability, confidence, and also just also setting goals for yourself too, like having something to achieve, like I was saying about aspirational before, like having something that you want to focus on, you want to do in your life, whether that's a legacy, whether that's health, whatever it is that you want to achieve. Just make sure that you're able to focus on those things and are able to achieve those things too, so it keeps you moving forward and also self-improving as a man. So those are the few things I would just add, really.
Yeah. No, thank you for sharing that. And I'm glad you mentioned legacy. We're gonna dive into legacy as well later in this conversation. But I want to bring up the next question, focusing on our young men in the world today. How can they learn to listen, to learn, to understand before they lead? Christopher, how about you take a shot at this?
Yeah, I think this is a good question, because I was always taught you have 2 ears, 1 mouth, listen to more than what you talk. And I feel like there's a lot of people that want to take the leadership role and position, and it's not that their intent is it's not in the right place. It's that their capability is not there yet. And I feel I would say as a more mature man, I've come to appreciate how many other men that I've been under that have helped raise me and really guided me, and really helped just give back so freely. They never asked anything in return. It wasn't transactional. They just took time that they won't get back, and they gave me time to lend to me through mentorship and guidance, and really how to make better decisions and how to carry myself as a man. Because there's a lot of influences in pop culture and in media on what a man could be. And I think that there's a lot of negative influences out there. And I'm so thankful that I didn't have to have been raised by media, right? I didn't have to get raised by someone on the screen, but I had real humans with real hearts, people that I knew, people that I love, that, brothers and, uncles, and just, strangers that I've come to appreciate, that just took that time. Because I was always taught, give back freely that which is given unto you. You could look at that secular and sacred. And so for me, when I think about, as we sit here at this intersection of emerging technologies and humanity, thinking about this question, I believe that there's a lot more ways to connect with different people, whether it's in localization or around the world, in which you can learn a lesson from, and it can bring and promote a tremendous amount of gratitude for understanding from other people's perspectives. Because I'll say this and be done with it. If you want to lead, a lot of it, and we talk about listening, the reason we listen, and the big part of it, is we shouldn't have to go through the challenges that others have gone before if we listen to the lessons that they learned. And if we can mitigate that, that doesn't say that we're going to be apart from learning a hard lesson or a challenge. You're going to have that regardless. But why go through the same challenges as someone else has had to go through? And why can't it be a little bit different so that we can continue to climb? If somebody already gave you the blueprint and the roadway up to the mountain, take that path, because there's a lot of things that had to happen for them to give you that blueprint.
Yeah, so powerful there, Chris. And as you were speaking, I was thinking of an African proverb that says, it actually says, smart men learn from their own mistakes, wise men learn from the mistakes of others. and foolish men never learn.
Wow.
Right. And so there's a sentiment to really listening and understanding from others, from yourself, and making sure that you're not just repeating the same patterns. Because I think we can all agree is that life will move in patterns, and you'll find yourself experiencing things over and over again until you decide to make a new decision and choose a different route and path. And so with this question of listening before leading, I think listening is external, you listening to other people, but there's also this inner knowing, this inner self that you also should listen to. And Salvation, you as a poet, right? I'm a fellow poet myself. A lot of writing comes from that inner dialogue that happens within your mind. So what is some value that comes from value and strategies that one can get about listening to their own self, and really spending time with themselves and seeing what's there in their mind before going externally to be fed into by other people?
Yeah, thank you very much, Kristen. So I would just add that in listening, you get understanding, and then in understanding, you get to learn, and in learning, you get to discover. So I think that men should seek to be humble enough to listen, enough to understand. We're in the world where people just listen and take it too quick without digesting. And I think it should be in a way that you listen to understand, and then you understand to discover yourself, because leadership is a process. It doesn't just happen instantly. So I think in a world where men can listen more to understand and not be too quick to be Gen Z, yeah, so that would be really, really helpful in being a good leader.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, and I'm glad you mentioned the word humility, which was the first time that we heard that word on this call. But I would say that humility is definitely one of those values that men in the next generation should implement into their lives, because humility says, I know I don't have all the answers. I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to listen, and I'm willing to be led. Right, which is what we need. And so with this next question, thinking about lessons, what lessons do you all think that men should pass forward to the next generation? Let's start with you, Russell. What lessons should men pass forward to the next generation? Yeah.
I think definitely life experiences for sure. Also, when it comes to your abilities and what you've learned, I think skills is also important to pass them on to. And also, when you're talking about like your emotions and basically being able to control your emotions and not letting your emotions over control you and stuff like that too, I definitely think that's important too. In basically being able to stay grounded, right? No matter what the situation is or where you are or what's happening, that you're going to be okay whatever happens, and that you're going to become stronger and become better out of it. So I'll say maybe those are the few things that I can think of the top of my head. Honestly, there's a lot, but I would say those are sort of the three main things, really, to be honest.
Yeah, that's good. I'm glad you mentioned skills too. And when you said that, it made me think back to our fearless leader, Chris. Christopher, we've seen you out in the field, literally, outdoors in different. I think I saw you even going to a detention center. But I've seen that you made that a priority of yours to actually get out and touch the land, touch the earth, and actually meet with young men face to face to pour back into them, teach them the lessons that you've learned throughout your time in this space. And so, two questions in regards to that. For one, what's your intention behind doing that? And then what are some of the lessons that you made sure to give to those young brothers that we saw you with online?
Yeah. So thanks for asking this question. And I did notice when Russell said skills as well, that really stuck out for me, because I think universally two things you want to be able to lend to your fellow man, if you will, to humankind, but to men as well, is skill. I'm a second generational technologist in a home in a neighborhood where you didn't see a technologist in my neighborhoods where I grew up from in Oakland, California. And so to be able to see my dad do it, I knew that I could do it because it became real. And then the other thing is a favorable disposition that you want to lend unto others, right? And so people are watching and people will believe more of what you do than what you say. And so I think that really matters. And then and that can be applicable through skills as well. My intent for going out into these communities is to show as a living blueprint of something that I feel like it would be great for others to do. And if you want to be in service to humankind, which I think is so important to be a servant leader, this is how you serve. And I think through media, it allows us to show what we can do when we take a few hours out of our lives and get back to those which are just looking for, they're not, in this today's world of AI, there's so much information that our young people have. You don't have to give them as much as you used to give them in terms of guidance. What you can do, and one of the best things you can do, I've come to appreciate in mentorship, Christian, from my experience, is to just show them which road to go. There's 12 roads in front of them, and they just want to know the way, and they got it from there. And they wanted, and getting that guidance, people are so appreciative just to say, I just need you to show me the way. I need help. And being around these young minds, especially these young men, the reaction I've gotten from them, because it doesn't convey on platforms like LinkedIn or Instagram, is one, they understand to some degree the world that they're in. And they're very smart. And we don't want to eliminate the capability of creativity of their own. And if you can say something to help unlock something that's already within, as you said, Christian, within, I think a lot of benefit and value is to be understood what's happening inside you. And to get people to see that, Russell, to understand that there's so many things that you can do, you have no idea that you can do. See, the road is not external, the road is internal. And that's what you want to get people to do, is not to see an external road for them, but to look within, to find that road within, to understand there's things that you could do right within your own heart and mind that you have no idea that you're capable of. Until you're challenged in that situation. There's things that happen to us in life where we're challenged. And there's something that prevails within. What is that? So I just think it's important in this world for human preservation. And then ultimately, I think as of late, my intent has been that if we don't teach the future generation of, and I'll say this as men, if we don't teach them, then something else will.
Yeah. So powerful. So powerful. Thank you for sharing that, Chris. And I'm one of those I guess I would say young men that have been poured into by you. I remember our first time meeting in person, and you asked me questions like, do you know how to fish? Do you know how to how to get your own food and make a meal if you have to, right? And I'm like, do I need to know how to do those things, right?
I feel like I've had that conversation with you and Russell at times.
Russell too. Okay, that's how Russell.
But it's serious. I think.
Yeah, you're not the only one.
Okay. Well, I think in society, I think and I have to keep it real. I know we're in live. There's a lot of people at GatherVerse.live and other social platforms right now, but I'm an advocate for women's leadership, but I'm still a man, and I was raised a man, and I think there's just certain things that men should learn how to do. And I'm not saying that women shouldn't. I think they should. There's a lot of things women, for some reason, men think that women can't do the things we do. But as a man, yeah, I don't shy away from that. That's real. As a man, I think there's things we should learn naturally how to do as men. And that's the way I've been taught. And I'll stand 10 toes on that all day.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's real. It made me open my eyes and question how I can show up better as a man. So I appreciate that. Even as me and Russell laugh about it now, it's real. We we need those skills because we do have a purpose and power as men, just as women have a purpose and power as women.
That's right.
And on this question, I want to go back to Brian because I see you're a transformational speaker. And when I see transformational speaker, it makes you realize that there's something that had to be transformed within you in your own life to be able to even claim that title, right? But then also pastor, life coach. Those are all terms that symbolize teacher. And so as you're teaching people, and let's focus on men here, as you're teaching them, what are some lessons that you try to pass forward to those under your teaching?
Okay, I really appreciate Christopher teaching the young men, young boys, men to be able to cook and do certain things. A man was blessed with the ability to use his strength and hands to be able to create, to be able to protect, to provide. But many times we only stick to the role of being provider. We only play one role. Earlier on, you spoke about how men actually don't live as long as women do, and how men are more lonely and depressed more than actually women. And one of the biggest things that I've gotten to learn is the ability to be able to communicate and to reach out when you need help. So one of the biggest lessons that we are advocating for men now is to reach out, to form men's group, to have discussions like this, platforms like this, where we actually discuss as men. Because there's a proverb that also one of my favorite proverbs says, young traveler, listen to the one who has gone before you, for he knows the twists and thorns along the highway. Otherwise, you get yourself in the thorns. So we need to actually listen to a generation that has been before us. We might be in the AI generation, we might be in a different whole time zone, but it's still the same issues that are still affecting us as men. The ability to handle our emotions, be able to communicate, speak out, be able to reach out when you need help, because we only reach out when we are in a, let's say, sports bar, watching football, drinking beer, and then they're like, this, and we always give each other this advice that a man has to do this, a man has to do this, but not actually dealing with the actual problem or the actual effects of the matter. So the biggest lesson is to be able to sit down, ask for help, reach out when you need help, and be able to say, okay, how can I do things better, not only for myself, but for those around me and for the generation to come. It's not just about paying the bills, providing for the family, but I need to leave a mark and a legacy.
Yeah, so good, Brian. Thank you for sharing that, and I agree. When it sounds like having intentional communities for men is very important, and it's something I spoke on day one when Christopher asked me a question about are there enough resources for men today? And the answer was yes, there are enough resources, there's enough information, but we need more communities. We need more spaces for men to be able to sit and chat with each other freely and vulnerably, right? Before it gets to a crisis moment, before they hit burnout, right? And that's kind of gets into preventative care, right? How can we prevent some of these issues from happening, right? How can we prevent some of these, some of the violence that happens from men just not being healthy, right? And I think one way to prevent that is, as we get to our next question, is mentorship. We talked a lot about values. What values can we give to younger men? What lessons can we teach them? Who do they need to become? But mentorship is one of those things that can be just the act of hand holding, right? That young men may need, and also older men can learn from as well, right? Mentorship should be reciprocal. But Salvation, I'm gonna come to you when you think about mentorship. What role do you think mentorship plays in nurturing our young men and humans today?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I think this question is very important to me. Like, it's special right now in my heart because while we're having this conversation, I'm recalling my days at home with my dad. I know we're talking about the men, but I'll just say in context as a lady that it's a very important one. I think mentorship started with my dad. I started writing today because of my dad. He studied English and literature in school, and then he's a writer. So when he wrote most of his state consign as an article to the press, he would just share with me and say, "Read this. What do you think?" And I started picking an interest in writing, and I loved it. And I think in my career and my personal life, what has really helped me has been mentorship, has been the guidance of somebody above me telling me, "Oh, Salvi, don't do this. Oh, Salvi, okay, what you want to do is nice. How about you try this one?" Okay, and I bring a consign, and the person says, "Oh, this is that, that is this." It has really helped me guide me in a way that I would have not discovered on my own, because that experience from somebody who is ahead of you, it's important. And that's where mentorship comes to play a very key role. It's very important, even as a man, that you have somebody that can guide you. And I'll bring back the word humility. It's also knowing that once a mentor says something, you listen, you say, "Oh, I want to be better because this person is definitely better than me, has something that I admire, and I really want to, work with this person, listen from this person." And then I also bring in a little bit context on community you mentioned before. And if there's more community of mentors for men, I think we'll start having a better society for men. And let me pick a little bit from what Chris said on the social media morality. And a lot of people are saying a lot of things right now on the internet. And then where there's a guided community of mentors that has proven with their life experiences, you know that you're listening to people who has walked the path. That's where mentorship comes in place. And as men, it will be so beneficial to have a community of mentors. The importance is so much. It's so much. The benefits are enormous. Yeah. And I think it plays a very major key part in the development of a man. Mentorship does.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you for sharing that. And it's so cool, the story about your father. I think sometimes all it takes is for older men to say, "Hey, take a look at this, right? Let me show you this. Come here with me." Right? It's just that the willingness and to be open and to invite someone else along the journey that can do so much for a younger person, right? When
Can I
there's someone
can I
yeah,
can I say something
please
that too?
come
Why
on.
I think
Yeah,
that's
cool.
so important. What Salvi just shared with us is
Yeah.
because who raised her father to be that way?
Her father.
His
Yeah, his
father.
father. Yeah, his
This,
father. Yeah.
this is why we talk about these things, because we're sitting here. Say, here's a woman that's on a men's health summit. She should be giving that testimony. That her words and what inspired her to move that way was from her dad, but who taught him to be such a way to teach and be with her daughter?
Mm,
We don't connect those dots. There's somebody that raised him. Now it may have been a woman. It may have been a woman, because women have played a proactive role, especially in our Black communities, of raising men. Right? I understand that. So I sit there and have appreciation when we think about the question of mentorship and guidance. We're teaching men to be men, also to be men to raise daughters and sons. And she's a testimony of being raised by what seems to be a good man.
yeah. Yeah. So good. Love that, Christopher. Thank you for connecting those dots for us, allowing us to see that, because I wasn't even thinking yet about, her father was also, raised to be the person that he is for her. Right. And now, Sal, you're going to continue to be a mentor for someone else. Right. And so it's like that. There's a ripple effect of good mentorship, good leadership. Thank you for sharing that, both Christopher and Sal. I appreciate that. And let's keep it going. And so again, we're going to talk about listening here, and listening and care. I know someone spoke about care earlier as well. So how can men listen and care in ways that change the world around them? Russell, let's bring you back. What are your thoughts on this question?
I just wanted to also touch upon the mentorship side, because I also think
Okay.
there's something else that we're forgetting on that aspect.
Tell me.
There's also different mentors in different areas of your life, right? Someone can teach you to be an exceptional businessman, but another man might teach you to be an exceptional fisherman. So there's different mentors for different areas in life. And in order to have all those I guess, skills, if you want to call them, or whether that's for your own mental health or your mental wellness or how you control your emotions, etc. That's important to have those in different areas. Like, for example, I have a mentor at gym, right? I have a business mentor. I have a business partner mentor, right? I have all different mentors around me. So it's all about surrounding yourself with the best people you possibly can to be able to mentor you in different areas of your life, and then be able to then improve all those different areas of your life to make you become the best person that you can be, so that you can then mentor the next generation. So it's a knock-on effect. But anyway, I just wanted to add that to what we're speaking about. So
yeah, thank you. And let's follow up on that too, because I want to get to the how around finding a mentor, right? I think universally it's known that mentorship is good. But what is some advice on steps that a young person, any person, can take to seek out a mentor, whether it be for business, whether it be for health, whether it be for relationships? What's some advice on how to take that step to find a good mentor?
Well, 2 steps, I would say. Number one is seeing where that person is at life, as in, like, what is their lifestyle, what have they achieved in their own life, where are they at in their own life? Like, if the guy is at the gym, does he have a 6-pack? Does he have muscular arms? Or if he's a fisherman, how many fish has he caught? Has he caught the biggest fish in the world? Right? Those give you achievements that you can go by to say, okay, this person could mentor me in that area. So that's number one. And number two also is you've got to get along with that mentor too. So you also need to test them in terms of ask them questions of like, how did you get there? Or what happened in your own life that got you to there? Or what is your relationship like with your other friends? Do you have other great friends around you? Just asking the right questions that you can qualify in order to then be able to find the right mentor for you. I would say that would be number two, is qualifying, but also seeing what they've achieved in their life. And then that will allow you to then find the right mentors for you, whether that's through social media, whether that's through, your friends group, whether that's when you're out at like the gym yourself, and then you just happen to meet someone who's already a coach there. So I would say those are a few different things that you can do and how you can find the right people to surround yourself with, basically.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I agree 1,000%. So thank you for sharing that, Russell. And
My pleasure.
yeah, thank you. And so I want to get into the next question. We can send it over to Brian. The question again, how can men listen and care in ways that change the world around them?
Okay. Thanks. Okay. When listen, someone said it at some camp, and they were speaking to youngsters, and they said, "Do you know that the word listen is exactly the same with the word silent? They're just different. The letters are aligned differently, but it's exactly the same." So many times we listen not to actually hear what the other person is saying, but we listen to reply or to respond. So I would say that listening we have to be silent, to silent our preconditioned thoughts or experiences or whatever we think we know, and listen from not a place of judgmental or from a place of correcting or writing or telling them what's right or wrong or whatever, proving you know better or anything, but actually listening to try and understand where they are coming from and asking the right questions. And by asking the right questions, then we expand our own, because we obviously have blinkers. We judge everything based on our own experiences, what we know. But when the other person is talking about what they know and they have experience, we are quickly to judge them or to just close it out. But they have so much to share for us. So I would say we need to be able to ask the right questions and silent our thoughts, anything else that we've known, and to really be aware of what the other person is saying, what is going on around us, and be able then to say, okay, this is how I can contribute positively. And with that, I recently did a talk on mentorship, because we're implementing it in one of the schools where the grade 7s are mentoring the grade 6 going downwards. And when we talk of mentoring, mentorship, the acronym is modeling. M is for modeling the right behavior. So I lead by being an example. And then E is for empowering others. I have to empower others to rise to the level that I am. And then nurturing is I have to do it from a point of love, a point of care, building the character and confidence of those under me. And then T is teaching. I have to be able to communicate well so that they actually learn teaching. And then O is offering. I have to be willing to say, okay, here I am. How can I hold your hand so that I move you from where you are to where you need to be? And then R is basically reminding. We need reminding. We need to be reminded of the potential we have. Russell spoke about taking risk. We need to be reminded that we can actually take a risk and transcend whatever we think we know or the level. And then S is just supporting. I'm there for you. That's what we need. Men, be there for each other. And H is helping. I have to be able to help others navigate the challenges. Maybe they're going through what I went through. I need to helping each other. And then I is inspiring. I need to live a life that gives something positive to the next generation. And then P is basically we have to prepare for the next generation. So it all comes to listening in a caring way and using mentorship. But all the words are just going back to listening and being able to bring about change in the world around us.
Oh, incredible. Thank you for sharing that acronym on mentorship. I think it's powerful when we can give the actual blueprint for how to show up for others in the role of mentorship. So thank you for sharing that, Brian. That's super powerful. And I want to dive deeper into the care aspect of this question. I want to bring it over to you, Christopher, because I know empathy is something that is a word that, thank you, Brian, for putting that in the chat. We'll have to add in the comments for the audience as well. But Christopher, I know empathy is a word that's close to your heart. I mean, when we first met, you challenged me often to make sure that I build from a place of empathy. And I really admire that and value that. So what do you think about this? How can men care? How can they show care and actually live and truly care for people in ways that can change the world around them? And what does caring even look like in this sense?
That's a very powerful question. Because I know that Salvi talked about she'd like to see more men care.
Yeah, she did.
And I understand that that's a very subjective expression, but to care, I think that care has to start within first. And I see many people on this stage I care about because I've known some of you for years. Yourself, Christian, and Russell. I care for Salvi, Kalpesh, and them that are behind the scenes that people don't see. I care for them. And I really feel like if you are in a position of leverage or to lead, I think to lead is to guide. To care, I think, is motivated by inspiration. You don't know when you meet somebody for the first time in life that some people you meet, they'll hold a place in your heart forever. That comes by way of inspiration, and the relationships that's bonded. I feel like to the question though, how can men listen and care in ways that change the world around them? I don't know if my care is appreciated because I've come to appreciate, Christian, that people have their own understanding of what care means. And unfortunately, we live in a world where sometimes the colloquialism of abuse could be seen as care for others. You get some men that were raised in a household where a man would harm them, beat them, and they are led to believe that that's care. And then that man turns around and does the same infliction onto others, and that woman, if you will, or that person will say, well, he does that because he cares for me. I'm taking this to a real level because care is not care. The definition of the meaning of care does not translate to others well. And we can make it flowers and butterflies if we want, but I think the care is so subjective now in this world, and I think it's been bastardized and misrepresented in such a harmful way that I think we have to find a better definition and understanding of what care means. So for me, it starts, for me personally, it's spiritual. Someone, a comforter, that somebody's caring for you, that takes in your interest and consideration of what's best for you in a way that does not bring harm to you. So I'm saying to the men and women that are listening and watching right now, that if somebody brings harm to your life and they take and extractive structures they take rather than give, that is not care. To care is to show up and to bring value to your life, bring benefit to your life, and to help promote growth within in a good way. So I think the understanding naturally has to be reset so that we're on the same page of what care for is. Because somebody says, I care for you. But then what happens is you're in a relationship and you say, I care for you. Your care is not being reciprocated the way that they're reciprocating to you. And so now there's a clash because they don't care for you the way that you care for them. But that's the way they've been raised to care. So I think at the end of the day, when we talk about in what ways can men listen and care in ways that change around the world, listen to your environment and listen to those people that are with you, around you, to understand how they want to be cared for. And then see if you can always be better on how you care about somebody. So you talked about empathy, Christian, and that's exactly where I'm getting at, is to better understand the people that you care for in the environment, the planet, how the planet wants to be cared for, how your community wants to be cared for. Right? So I can go on and on. There's a lot of things that we do and a lot of initiatives that we put out there that sometimes people never ask for. And so I think that listening, again, promotes a better understanding on how to better address the situation at hand. And so,
well, yeah, so good. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Chris. And as Lynn just put in the chat here, I agree. Care is relative depending on your upbringing, but just setting a baseline. If care takes from you, brings violence into your life, it's important to realize that that's not care, right? If it's harming you in that way, that's not care, and it's okay to unlearn something in order to relearn, a way that is healing, right? We're talking about health here, right? Unlearning and relearning is a part of.
That's real.
Yeah, that's part of the
I learned some of that. I learned some of that from you, Christian. I mean, that's real. That's just right.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. So now thank you for sharing that, Chris. And now I think this is a beautiful segue, right? Because as humans, as men, even in Salvi, you hear representing as a woman, we all have a responsibility, right? We all have a responsibility in how we show up for those around us and how we show up in the world. We have a responsibility to show up with empathy and show up with care. But in this age of choice, I like that phrase, in this age of choice where we are free to do many things. What does responsibility look like when we think about health and care and empathy for others? Salvius, for you.
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. I would say the word commitment because it's really dynamic in this question, relates to it in a very dynamic way. I think responsibility somehow is commitment because we cannot say somebody is responsible without them being committed to anything. Yeah, so I would say that it should be commitment to relationships, commitment to your goals, commitment to your talents. Like recently, I've discovered that I want to go back to the things I love doing. I need to be committed to those things, right? I picked up the guitar. I got a guitar for my birthday last October, And I said, every week, 2 hours every week, I'm going to be learning how to play the guitar. I need to show up to learn how to play the guitar every week, 2 hours. So that's commitment, commitment in our personal agendas, commitment to our families, commitment to the aspirations and dreams we have individually as people and then as men. I know in the society unit, men are more given to the responsibility of taking care of others, right? But then you need to be able to know that, okay, for me to be able to achieve so many things, I need to be able to commit to these things. So I think one word to summarize: be responsible in the universe of choices that we have now, with lots of policies and everything, with lots of communities in tech and all this initiative of different events we go to. I'd say the men generally, but I'll just say for the men, needs to be commitment to their aspirations, to their dreams, to be able to be more responsible. Yeah, because I don't think the word responsible goes on its own without commitment.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Salvi. I agree 100%. Commitment is important, and when you say commitment, I also thought of the word consistency, right? Because in order to commit to something, you have to show up consistently. Chris, you know so much about that. You know so much about that. So thank you for sharing that, Salvi. And we have a couple more minutes left. This has been such a great conversation. I appreciate all of your time, 100%. And so I want to end with this question, another kind of popcorn question for everyone in the group. And the question is, what is one truth every man must confront to evolve? And we'll start with Brian and go Russell, Chris. We'll go Russell, Salvi, and end with Christopher. So, Brian, what is one truth that every man must confront in order to evolve?
Life goes on. That's the life goes on, regardless of circumstances. You might be at a bad place, life goes on. You might be at a very, everything is going well, life goes on. You need to constantly know that change is happening and be prepared for the good, the bad, but life goes on.
Amazing. Thank you, Brian, for that, and thank you for your time and joining us. Really appreciate it. Russell, let's go to you. What's one truth that every man should confront in order to evolve?
You know, this reminds me of a young entrepreneur that I met in Portugal. And he was asking me, he was like, one of the things he kept asking me was he was responsible for these 10 people under his company, but he wasn't able to control his emotions. And he just basically just kept losing his cool all the time and, you know, getting angry with his team and everything like that. So one thing one truth every man must confront to evolve is being able to handle his emotions. Not necessarily I'm saying don't feel the emotions. Like if you get angry, go to the gym, punch a bag, something like that. Go whatever you want to do. But one thing you need to be able to do is to, in a nutshell, control your anger, right? Control your emotions, as in don't lose your cool, in a nutshell. So that's what I would say is basically your emotions.
Yeah, control. Yeah, so powerful, and that hits so close to home because me not being able to articulate, first understand my emotions is what led me down my journey of going to therapy and getting into the mental wellness space. So thank you for sharing that. And Salvi, let's go over to you. What's one truth that you think every man must confront in order to evolve?
I'm sitting down here and I'm trying to recall what my dad would say in this situation or in this question or answer. And I think one thing that stood out to me earlier on this question was identity. You must confront your identity, where you come from, who you are, and who you want to become. I think it's one thread that can align with you anywhere you are in the world, your identity.
Your identity. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, Salvi. And thank you for your time and joining us, Russell. You as well. Christopher, let's wrap it up here. For you, what is one truth that every man must confront in order to evolve?
That you cannot do it alone. I don't care who you are, who you think you are, what confidence and bravado and machismo that you have. As a man, we can often be nomadic. I think it's thematic of this summit. You know, men are very alpha. You know, a lot of men are, and we feel as if we don't need help with anything. I can open up the bottle. I can fix this cabinet. I can do all these things. I can plunge. I can fix this car. I can do all these things. And listen, in the reality of things, if you want to evolve, you will never evolve alone. And at every step of the way, you'll need someone to be able to help guide you to that next step. And that's real talk. And I think we find ourselves in a potential world when we believe that we can do it alone. And that's a hard lesson I've had to learn. As much as I don't like asking people for things, as much as I don't want this help, it's brought me to my knees. And by giving grace, I know that I need help, and I've come to appreciate that. I'm thankful for the help that's given. And I say that with a humble heart. That's real. So I cannot do this alone. And I've come to appreciate that I don't want to do it alone. So that's what I have.
Yeah. Amazing. So good. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Chris, Brian, Russell, Salvi, GatherVerse team. Thank you again for putting on another summit, global summit. Another one. It's been so many. But shout out to the GV team, and thank you everyone for watching. I would say our gather was well.
Thank you, Christian. Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much, Brian.
I can't do it alone. You can't do it alone. And we did not do this alone. Thank you for participating in our 35th Global GatherVerse Summit. The Men's Health Summit 2025, Day 2, has now concluded. There was much said from different hearts and minds that spoke across from around the world at this incredible intersection of emerging technologies and men's health. We talked about the need to go see the doctor. We talked about the need to mind our weight. We talked about the need for mentorship and guidance and compassion, for keeping our cool and not being so angry. To know that we don't have to go about it alone in this world. We talked about the express benefit of having a mentor in our lives and to give back that which was given unto us, as I've been taught. We've talked about incredible technologies such as extended reality and artificial intelligence and all different types of technologies that play a proactive role in the grooming and the raising and keeping sustainable health for men. We talked about women's health. We talked about that relationship between men and women and the benefit therein. And we even talked about men that have been groomed well, that have raised daughters and sons. Here at GatherVerse, we go and explore a myriad of different subjects and topics. You never really know what type of summits that will arise, but we do this as a focal point to understand that we live in an extremely diverse world where so many things are happening, a plethora, and we want to cover as many topics as we can. We meet at this intersection with our standards of humanity and accessibility and education and the real consideration of equality and community development and the value therein. And we talk about safety and privacy and trust and ethics and wellness and well-being. We don't just talk about these things. We assemble people around the world that live these things. It means something to us. We're so thankful to our sponsors at Pico who have seen the value of GatherVerse and what we bring month in and month out. We do our level best to make sure that each of you that come to speak at GatherVerse and attend at gatherverse.live, who's sitting here right now, that we provide value in the preservation of human expression and humanizing technology, one conversation at a time. We hope that this week has been a good spend of your time, and we are always mindful that this is time that you'll never get back, and we are grateful. We have our food summit, our money summit, and our book summits coming up next to close out the year. There's so much that's going to be unpacked when it comes to that. Tell a neighbor, tell a friend. These are important discussions and highlight topics. I've never seen more of an important time to have a discussion on currency. I've never seen more of an important time to have a discussion on food and nourishment and sustainability and natural resources. And I certainly have not seen a better time to have a discussion on authorship and bookmaking and the preservation of expressions that come from the hearts and minds of humankind or from a neural network. We are in a different time. Lastly, I'll leave you with this, that if we don't have health, we have nothing. And with GatherVerse, we do these summits to let you know, as much as we really enjoy talking about technology and hyperscale and the incredible innovations that are happening across the world daily at a time that we've never seen such acceleration before, we want you to know that we'll always care more about you than the wonderful and terrific and incredible technologies and products that you make. We'll take a human heart always first. And with that, our gather was well. And when we meet again, may our gather be well.
Not to do what I have done. Spend your lives in sin and misery in the house of the rising sun. The other There's a house in New Orleans they call the Rising Sun, and it's been the ruin of many a poor boy. And God, I know